Sorry to hear that, man.
All right. Welcome to Flutter Atlanta. Thank you everybody that's tuning in online. Just a reminder to you guys that are here, the mics are in the ceiling so they can hear everything you say, even if you're whispering or typing or anything. So just keep that in mind. Everyone online will be able to hear that.
Can you think they can hear the music in here?
We can pause the music.
Yeah, definitely.
But yes, welcome to Flutter Atlanta. My name is Emmett. I'm the Flutter team lead here at Black Airplane. I have a background in native Android and iOS development. I've been using Flutter for over 2 years, probably close to 3 years now. Published a whole bunch of different Flutter apps, and I love Flutter so much that I'm also using it for my startup. I want to say thank you to Black Airplane. They're always providing us food and beer. Black Airplane is a leading development agency in the Southeast, and we have a special team here that produces top quality work, and we can build pretty much anything these days. Just a reminder, there is an active Flutter hackathon going on, so if you haven't already, you can go and build a slide puzzle, and they have all kinds of different prizes, decked out MacBook Pros, and all kinds of different things that you can win. So if you're just looking for something fun to build in Flutter, there's a good reason to do it. Today we're going to be talking about animations, and I'm just going to quickly go over the couple animations I'm going to show you, but the majority of today is going to be showing you kind of code examples. I'm not going to be live coding any of them because there's 4 different animations I built out, but we'll kind of look at how complex it is to implement, overview the code, maybe adjust a couple things for fun, and then, yeah, hopefully you guys will have some ideas to implement in your own apps. So the different animations we're going to look at are simple animations that are going to be included out of the box in Flutter. These are things like hero and normal implicit animations. These are very safe to use because they're just super simple. We're also going to look at pre-packaged animations. These are going to be things that you find on pub.dev as like somebody else built. We're going to look at custom painter animations, which are probably going to be the most advanced code-wise. And then we're going to look at Rive or third-party animations. Rive animations are going to be your top of the line, really fancy, but programming wise you don't actually have to do too much to get them to work. So simple animations. These are going to be super low effort. They come out of the box with Flutter, so you don't have to import anything extra. And they're not very crazy, so it's safe to use with pretty much all UI designs. It's going to add just a little bit of flair, but it's not going to overbear your design. Pre-packaged animations typically are also low-effort implementation. That's why you're getting it in a package versus building it yourself. There's tons of different options. Today I'm going to show you kind of a cool grid view type animation. And then there are some official Flutter-backed animation packages, like the one called Animations, that gives you different animations between like sliding and kind of hero type animations as well. You do need to be careful with these though. There are some really crazy looking animation packages on pub.dev, so be sure to use them tastefully or ask a designer before you just start throwing these all over your project. Custom painter animations are pretty high effort implementation. You're basically telling it to draw all the pixels that you want it to draw. Then on the bright side, it's completely customizable. This is where the Flutter team says you can truly control every pixel, and that is how you get to the custom painter, is when you truly need every pixel control. And it is best for implementing simple custom animations. Last, you have Rive or third-party animations, and these are really easy to work with in code, and you're going to spend more time on designing the animation itself versus actually implementing it. The animation is built in a program similar to video editing software, like in Adobe After Effects. You're going to see a timeline and kind of a video type editor, and you have all of the kind of segments that you run the animation through. Then it exports as a file type with parameters that you can interact with via your code to be able to trigger it based on interactions in your app. And this is best for your very complex animations. This is how you're going to get animations like a monster on a web page whose eyes follow your cursor as you scroll around, and some complex animations like that. So we will hop over to my demo. So this is technically public on my GitHub. I haven't made it super fancy with a README or anything, but if you want to check it out, I can put a link in the description of this video afterwards. But yeah, so we're going to have a couple different animation examples that we can look at. The first one we're going to look at is going to be the simple animation. So let me go here in code as well. So simple animation, in this case I'm using an animated container. Flutter out of the box comes with a whole bunch of animated widgets. So as you've probably seen, a container widget. All you need to do to make it animated is throw animated in front of it. You give it a duration of how long you want the animation to take, and a curve, which describes how the animation happens. And then anytime you change parameters on that animated container, it will automatically trigger the animation for you. So here I have set up a button that's just going to kind of randomize the width and height. And as you can see, it'll just hop between these as I continue to animate it. And it's super low code. It's pretty much no changes other than adding a duration and a curve. And it can do way more than just the size. You can change the color. You can change pretty much anything in the decoration. You have animated opacity too if you want to make things fade in and out. All of this is very easy to control just by rebuilding it with new parameters, and then it will handle the rest. Now to demonstrate some of these curves, we can switch this to a bounce out curve. And this is going to give you a little bit of a more playful animation here versus the ease that we saw. So you can truly get some really crazy effects going on just with simple animations, but they're so easy, they're out of the box again, they're very quick to implement. Heading to our next animation, we have a grid animation. Let me head over here real quick.
Emmett, can you do like half seconds on that last one?
Half seconds, yeah, you can do milliseconds, you can make it go super fast. The duration, here we can hop back to that real quick. So with the duration, you can switch this to milliseconds, and if you wanted this to go super quickly, then you can see it kind of freaks out a little bit. But yeah, you can get truly crazy with these. You can make them go like really slow if you wanted to. So this is going to be a 10-second. So it's super slow. You can do all kinds of stuff with these animations. Let's head on over to the grid view animation. So I'm using two different packages to implement this. First one is going to be called Staggered Grid View, which is going to allow for a nice kind of masonry style grid. And then I have Staggered Animations. So what this allows you to do is it's going to animate in all of the different list items. Now I've used something like this in my startup where instead of showing some jarring loading state and then snapping to all the data there, as the data loads, it just kind of animates in as I add it to the list view. So there's going to be a lot of colors on this one because I just randomized the color, but just try and look past my crazy colors and at the animation itself. So as you can see, it went pretty fast there, and as you scroll, more will pop in. And it's kind of a cool animation, a cool way to add to your list view past just displaying this right when you got to the screen. In this screen, I've also put in another simple animation that is actually used by the floating action button by default, which is a hero animation. And this allows you to animate between screens very easily. A lot of people will use this if you have a card with an image on it and click on it to go into a detail view. The hero image will just kind of expand into that next screen. So I've done that here with these blocks. So as I click on these, you'll see that it goes to the center, it'll kind of grow. And all that takes is setting a hero tag on both the screens of the item that you're animating. You don't have to set up any extra work. So this is a very easy, low effort way to add a little bit of style and smoothness to your application. And it's never going to be so over the top that it's jarring. I will say though, pick one item from your card to add this to. Don't add this to all the information that is changing over, because that's when, once you see things flying all over your screen, that's when it can get overwhelming. So these are going to be a good example of what you're going to find on pub.dev. Again, these are things that you can just go find a package for, import it into your dependencies, and then very quickly out of the box use it. So as you can see right here, I'm setting up this the grid view. And then in the children builder, this is the animation itself as soon as you see that animation configuration. And I have two animations actually going on here, which is the fade in as well as the slide up. And you can change durations on this as well if you wanted to make it slower. So we can do duration, seconds 1. And then let's give it a refresh real quick. And then you'll see when we go into this grid animation, they come in a lot slower. So that you have complete control over this, just like you did with the other animations. Sometimes it's limited depending on who's building the packages, but it's been pretty standard over the Flutter community to just include a duration and a curve to be able to alter the two most important parts. Next up, I'm going to show you a more complex to build animation, which is going to be this custom painter. So let me hop over to this view. So the custom painter has a lot of different parts to it. So as you can see here, I'm wrapping it in a size box, and this is the animation we're going to look at. I'll demonstrate it real quick. Basically, you have this kind of curve action, and as you're going to the right, it kind of moves the curve to the right, and as you go to the left, it moves the curve to the left. This is actually inspired by a project that we did here at Black Airplane, and this was used for a bottom app bar as well as an image carousel. So the bottom app bar, when you had 4 icons on the bottom, whichever one you clicked, the center of the wave would hover over to show that it was selected, as well as highlighting the button. And then on the image carousel as well, it animated across, overlaid on the image, instead of having like a dot indicator at the bottom. So this allowed our designer to have a little bit of creativity and give that app a very unique kind of distinctive feature. Now, again, like I said, there's a lot of parts to this, but the end result after you build this is something very similar to an animated container. So I have this class here called Wave Animation that is an implicitly animated widget, which just means whenever I change parameters to it and rebuild the UI, it will automatically handle the animation. So if we dig into this, you can see that this actually extends an implicitly animated widget, which is from Flutter itself and how they actually implemented animated container and animated opacity and those other implicit widgets. And I give it the parameters that I want, and then you have some overridden methods here, which are going to be your build method, which is just like building any other widget, which is how I'm actually going to draw it. In this case is a custom painter, which we'll talk about in a second. And then you have a for each tween. So you can have a whole lot of different tweens, and a tween is basically going to be an animation of one value, which in this case is a double. The only animation that I'm changing is the center of the wave, and then my painter handles painting based on that. So this is how you're actually going to animate a widget, is you're going to wrap it in kind of an implicitly animated widget, so that way you can adjust what's being built based on that. Custom painting is probably a topic for another day, but this is what allows you to get that custom effect. So if we dig into this, you're really going to be editing every pixel. So you're going to be basically drawing a path on a canvas and filling it. So as you can see here, I'm setting up the start point of the path. I'm drawing based on a cubic the actual wave itself, and then I'm basically sealing it and filling it in. So I have some parameters here that kind of determine how tall I want the wave and where the center is, and this is what is actually rendering out what you're seeing. The animated implicit animation that we just looked at, that is what's giving it all the in-between values. So that wave center is actually changing from like 0 when it's all the way on the left to half when it's in the middle to 1 when it's on the right, and it is animating, or it's rebuilding it with everything in between. So you can change curves on this as well because I have it supported. Let's go back to wave animation. So let's see here. Where do I have it? Here it is, curves. So like, for example, we could throw this as an ease and just get this rebuilt. And then this is going to be a much smoother animation versus the bounce that it was. And there's tons of these that you can choose from, as you can see. So you have pretty much all of the ones that are popular out there in the world are supported by this. And they're definitely fun to play around. So when you start building out animations, you can get some really crazy cool effects just by messing with the curves. All right, so that is going to be custom painter animations. Then, as you can see, it's probably the most code that we've written tonight, which still wasn't that much to achieve a fairly custom animation. The last animation that I'm going to show you is a Rive animation. This is just a very simple, from their website, example animations. And I don't actually have one that you're actually going to be adjusting any of the parameters with today. But you can just load it just straight from HTTPS. You just drop it in like you would image.network. I can actually show you Rive animation view. This is all it takes to load in this custom animation. You can load it in, and as you can see, this was built in something that it was their program that resembles After Effects to me a lot. So you can have full-on custom video, you can have all different types of animations that you trigger based on code, and you can truly build some really amazing things and take your app to that next level. They also recently had a partnership with the Flutter Puzzle Hack that showed you how to add Rive animations to your Flutter puzzle. So if you want to see truly in-depth start to finish, then creating an animation in Rive and then adding it into Flutter, highly recommend going and checking out that video. But that is all the animations I have for you today. Does anybody have any questions?
We have a question online from Zach Smith. He said, I was trying to do something similar today, talking about the custom slider, if you want to go back to that.
Custom painter, yeah.
Is it possible, or have you stacked multiple animations on top of each other, almost like a line, then separate tickers down the line?
Almost like multiple animations on top of each other. Could you try and give me some clarity? You can definitely stack different variables. So let me see here. I'm not sure if I'll implement this for you live, but let me go to my wave animation. So that's what this for each tween gives you the capability of. So I have my wave tween, which is basically the position. But we could add another tween here, and we could say, we could say that this would be like the amplitude if we wanted to. So let me see here. So you could very quickly so if you wanted to add extra things here, you can literally stack as many of these tweens in this for each tween as you want. So that way you can animate different values. So I could make the wave get bigger as well as I hit the plus, or smaller as I hit the minus. And I would just have to get all the parameters in here to support that. Head over to the wave. I think I already have this wave intensity, and we can say we need to add this controller.amplitude. Just go 0.1. So here I've just added this amplitude variable. Not sure if this is going to work, obviously, never tested it. But theoretically, as I hit plus now, the amplitude should go up. Second amplitude. Named argument.
You just need to move it in front of your name.
Yeah. Refresh this real quick. I'm not sure if this is going to be noticeable. Let me try and set.
It's still yelling at you.
Oh, yeah. That would be why. Give this a refresh. So when the gesture recognizer is hidden, both the bottom animation and the one stack interacted. Okay. So you had two separate animations. So I think what it sounds like is you are using the same controller for two animations. You're going to need to make sure that you have two separate animation controllers. Otherwise, they will interact with each other. So yeah, this is kind of getting crazy at this point. But it is adjusting the amplitude. So yeah, you can adjust as many things as you want. You can do a color tween to even change the color in between colors. And you can really get as custom as you want with it. As for them triggering at the same time when you don't want them to, then you would need to use the separate controllers. For this repo, I will drop a link to it. I don't have a nice README or anything, so let me just drop a link to it in the description of this video after we're done being live, and I can post it in the Meetup as well, and you guys can check it out.
Back on your first simple animation in the box where you were adjusting the size, I'm assuming you could also throw in like color into there and then it would also adjust the color. Is there a simple way to, using a simple animation like that, delay certain properties of the animation or sequence them? So maybe it adjusts the size for a second, but 500 milliseconds in, it also starts adjusting the color?
Yes, let me see here. We can, let's go to the simple animation view real quick. So right now we have the width and height. So right now I have this method called controller.randomize. Just for the sake of this, let's make this asynchronous. And then let's just say I want to set the width value to 300. And then I want to set the width first, and then I'll set the height a second later.
Sure.
And then I can await. So I'm just going to basically cause a delay duration, seconds, 1. And there are multiple ways that you can do this. This is just going to be the
Sure.
simplest way to show this. So now when I hit this, oh, I still have it on this super slow. Controller. I don't think it refreshed it.
Milliseconds looks like it's set to 10 seconds.
Let me give it a refresh. Simple animation. So there you go. Then you get the kind of sequencing that you're looking for.
Very nice.
Going back to the Rive, can you kind of show us in your code where you would access parameters if that was, an actual custom Rive file?
So it has a whole kind of controller style, so you can give it multiple different controllers, and then you also have access to the different animations, so you can select just certain animations out of the file.
Okay.
They have a lot of, you can select different artboard, like they have a lot of different settings. The controller is where a lot of the magic actually changing what's happening is going to happen.
I recognize that's a third party, but can you specifically with Rive download those files into the app so they don't have to get loaded over the network?
Yep, yeah, you can have them all stored locally so they don't have to hit the network.
Would you use something like a Rive animate? Like that's kind of like cartoony. Like, would that be a good loading screen? Like, what would be the use case?
I've seen people use Rive for like advanced looking loading indicators if that's something you want. Truly, with Rives, the sky's the limit. Some people will use them for animated icons. So if you wanted to animate an icon between a pause and a play button, you can do a really nice fluid animation to make that happen. Really, the sky's the limit with that. It's whatever. It's a different skill set, I would say, than developers. So if you're going to invest a lot into crazy custom Rive animations, you might need to get a true animation person because it's a little bit more video editing, actually making the animation, than it is programming, if that makes sense.
I don't know if you have it prepared or anything, but can you show us the Rive like screen?
Like web page?
Yeah.
Yep.
And like how you got that? Like you were mentioning, like kind of like a video editing software.
Yeah, I think I can. It'll be easiest shown just going to their website.
Did you know about Rive before that desktop?
I heard about it fairly early on, but as you can see, this is kind of a preview of what their software looks like. As you can see, you have the keyframes down at the bottom. So it's very similar to like if you've ever done anything with After Effects, you're going to be able to drop everything in there and based on the keyframes, animate. So here's their fancy little website. I know they have a lot of different demos on here as well. So here's like an interactive pull to refresh demo. So they have this cool animation. They have this really cool graph where the water fills up and down. So this is what I was talking about with like the parameters, actually being able to adjust this, or really cool fluid animations that go between each other.
Is that a free account? Like how much is free versus paid?
I am not sure on pricing. I think it says down here. Yeah, so here you go. So they do have a free version and then they have a paid version. I think, you know, probably licensing and all the different features that you would need.
Separate. All right. Sounds like there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
So it looks like you can, based on that, you can play with it as much as you want for free, and then just have a watermark until you.
Yeah. And it is supported by more than just Flutter, so if it is a technology that you're looking at for an existing project that you have that's not in Flutter, it's supported all kinds of places now.
Did you catch Ross's question up there about the pizza slices? I don't know if there's necessarily a question in there. He's got an app he's been working that involves drawing pizza slices of different sizes around a circle.
Drawing pizza slices. Oh. I've got a nascent app I've been working that involves drawing pizza slices of different sizes around a circle. Definitely want to look at this part of the repo. Gotcha. So like, I assume what you mean is kind of like a pie chart almost and animating those in. That I probably would lean on Custom Painter for. Maybe Rive can pull it off, but it does sound like if you just want to be able to input values and then it spit it out, it sounds simple enough that you could build it in Custom Painter. But if you need some crazy look, like if you're trying to get some really in-depth textures like this kind of graph, you're probably not going to pull this off with Custom Painter. That's just, it's going to take you way longer than it's worth.
Sounds like a challenge.
Oh yeah, he just said no question.
Have you ever done any work with shaders in Flutter?
I had some problems with shaders with Flutter very early on in Flutter Web days that have since been fixed, but I have not personally done a whole lot of work with shaders.
You know, is there like packages out there that make it so you can bring in shaders that you've written, like vertex shaders, that sort of thing?
Let's see. I know that we're built on top of, what is it, WebGL or something like that, so you can use those shaders. I believe it's WebGL. Let's see. Yes, Start WebGL, Material Color. It doesn't look like there's, well, Flutter WebGL. It's not a super popular package.
The top package looked promising.
Yeah, this is going to be included directly in the core library. So this would just be interacting with WebGL through Dart.
That's great.
Yeah, so they have some shader stuff here. Yeah. So the way they normally build these things out is it's truly, because Dart compiles one-to-one to JavaScript, you're able to just kind of wrap exactly what WebGL would have been like natively with just Dart classes to be able to interact with it.
Interesting.
Anyone else?
I feel like animations are something that without it, it's missing something, but you can easily overdo it. what have you found to be, like, if you had to pick two or three, like, principles just to keep in mind when you're adding animation?
David ran a UX publication, so he can probably speak to this better than I can.
Users love blinking things, so the more things that blink in your app, the better. Always fade in and out everything. That's always, yeah. No, I think like the simplest thing that you can do in my experience with like simple animations is don't overdo it, like Emmett was saying. Find one or two properties to change on things just to make something feel more responsive. But go and leverage custom curves to ease in and out your animations. You use the ease curve a lot. I would guess that you can probably drop in custom curves too, but yeah. So the one that I usually lean on in a lot of animation work is ease out expo for simple like button clicks and menus, swing in, swing out. It's a really great curve. If it's not in this default curves class, then you can probably oh, there it is. Yeah, that's a really good interface animation curve in my opinion, but just good for simple stuff. And then make animations really fast for interface elements.
Yeah, I guess the way I would put it is I used to be really into cars, and when you started modifying cars to a point where it was over the top, it's the same thing as animations. So the best modification to a car is when you change it to look how you would perceive it's supposed to look, right? So your animation shouldn't add too much over the top. It should really just be, what do I feel like this should look like based on all my knowledge of all the other high-end sites that I've seen. Add just enough animation to hit that, and then you're probably at the sweet spot. Don't focus too much on going over the top.
And hire a Rive animator to make some cool stuff for your app. I think Flutter also has a Lottie package, right?
Yep, they support. So Rive is very similar to Lottie. So right now Rive's been being pushed by the Flutter community, but Lottie is also very well supported. So you may have more experience with this.
Yeah, I don't know if with Lottie you can. It looks like Rive you can do more programmatic stuff within the animation. I don't know if you can do that with Lottie or not. At least I've never tried to.
For swiping something left or right, yes. Pretty sure there's actually a package called Swiper, I believe. Card Swiper. It's carousel. Text swipe. Or it might be dismissible. I feel like that's how you spell dismissible. Do you guys remember which one it is? You know what I'm talking about.
I was thinking it was dismissible.
That might be built in. Flutter dismissible list tile. Swipe to dismiss. This is probably where I would point you to. There is a Flutter cookbook or kind of like a quick example on how you would do this. So yeah, they've added a dismissible widget. So this is going to allow you to kind of swipe, and then it's going to allow you to kind of swipe away, or you can even have it pop up some options, like if you want to swipe and then the archive delete button, like in Gmail, pops up, and then you can click on those. See if this will run for me. Do a little dartpad demo. So there you go. Something like that, and you can go the other way. You can do different things. All right, guys, well, that's the end of the demo, but let's go through our last couple slides here. Just a reminder that we are officially a part of the Flutter Meetup network, which is cool. We get access to a whole bunch of speakers, so expect sometime this year we're going to get some people from Google to come actually talk to us. We also have a website, which is open source. If you want to contribute to it, please do, because I haven't had enough time to update it consistently. but it's at flutterdevelopersatl.com. And then next time, Brandon, you might actually know more about this than I do. We're participating in the Flutter Festival, so we're partnering up with some of the other groups. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, it'll be the week of March 7th is Flutter Festival North America. So we teamed up with Flutter Denver and Flutter Chicago, the heads of that. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, there's going to be content each of those days. Flutter Denver is going on Tuesday. Flutter Chicago is going to be doing a presentation. If you hang with me, I can actually tell you what they're presenting on. And then our regulars, it worked out great for us because we'll just have a regular meetup, same time, same place. And we'll be talking, Emmett will be talking about offline functionality, building that into your app. Flutter Chicago is tentatively going to be talking about local data storage. And then Flutter Denver is going to be talking about tips and tricks for forms in Flutter. And I'll be sure to send out, they're going to be separate YouTube links, Meetup links, so I'll be sure to post that in the Meetup channel. So if you're not a member of Meetup channel, make sure you are.
And thank you guys so much. Thank you everyone that showed up in person. Thank you everyone that tuned in online. Oh, Brandon's got one more thing.
And the talk about the Windows or the desktop announcement.
Oh yeah, Flutter launched official support out of beta for Windows now. So at some point we're going to build a Windows app here in one of our talks. But if that's something you've been waiting for, make sure to check that out. It's always exciting when Flutter gives us new platforms that we can build on without having to do too much work on our end. So definitely go build something for fun on Windows, and if you do build something, send it to us so we can check it out. Anything else? You good?
Thanks, Emmett.
All right, thank you.